Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Electoral Commission of South Africa. This is the nucleus of elections. This is the head office of the IEC as we prepare our weekend registration that will be taking place on the coming weekend of the 9th and the 10th of November 2011. Joined on this table is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of South Africa, Advocate Pensi Tlakula. Sitting next to her is the Chief Electoral Officer, Mr. Mosotho Moyepia, and the leadership of the IEC sitting next to him, to the CEO, is Mr. Mamabulo, who's the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, Dr. Masuku, who's also the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer, as well as Mr. Norman du Plessis, who's the Deputy Chief Electoral Officer. This is our first press briefing as we prepare towards a registration weekend for the national and provincial elections 2014. Without much ado, welcome to the IEC. I'm going to hand over to the chairperson of the IEC, Advocate Pensi Tlakula, to give us the details as we prepare for this coming weekend.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. A warm welcome to all representatives of media houses present to the Electoral Commission. I wish to convey the Commission's gratitude for your presence. We have invited you to this press briefing to give you a sense of our readiness for the registration weekend taking place this coming Saturday and Sunday. For those of you who have worked with us for some time, you will know that even though eligible voters can register on any working day in the Commission's offices located in all our local municipalities, when we have an impending election such as the forthcoming national and provincial elections, we open all our voting stations. This allows eligible voters who have not yet registered to apply to register, those who have moved areas to re-register, and those, of course, to allow everyone else to check their details. It is a great opportunity, we believe, for South Africans to familiarize themselves with their voting stations. All of our 22,263 stations will be open between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday. 45,795 election officials will be on hand. Voting districts have increased by 7% since the 2011 local government elections. The growth reflects an expansion of voting districts in predominantly rural areas, with an increase of 15% in the Free State, 10% in Limpopo, and 9% each in the Northwest and KwaZulu-Natal. This reflects a continuous attempt to reduce the distance required for voters to travel to the voting stations. All registration materials have been delivered to the 8 metro councils and the 226 local municipal councils. In the next 2 days, they will be delivered to the stations in readiness for opening on Saturday morning and on Sunday morning. Each station receives a copy of its current voters' roll, reflecting the voters registered in that district. Forms that are used to apply to be registered as a voter, we call these forms REC 1 forms. A barcode scanner that captures the barcode on applicant's ID and prints a receipt that provides proof of application. These scanners, as you know, are famously known as zip machines. Finally, banners and posters that are used to identify the voting stations. Just over 30,000 zip machines have undergone testing and battery checks to ensure they are ready for the weekend. The zip would be in an optimal functional condition as a result of the testing procedures they have undergone. Registration stations are located at a wide variety of premises which are leased by the Commission for registration weekends and voting days. Schools make up 65% of our stations. Community and civil halls 10%, places of worship, 7%, and the rest are various community venues. Approximately 7% of stations are temporary facilities, including tents and other temporary structures. There are 31 mobile registration stations which are used in the rural areas, which span a larger than average areas. The Commission is ready to service 31.4 million eligible voters. We encourage all of them to come out and make the first step towards exercising their right to vote. To find your station, you can call our call center on 0800 11 8000 or visit our website at www.elections.org.za. If you have already registered, you can confirm your registration details and your voting station by SMSing your ID number to 32810. Remember that standard SMS rates apply. To register as a voter, you need to be in possession of a green bar-coded ID book or a valid temporary identification certificate or a new smart card ID. I am happy to announce that the Department of Home Affairs will open all its branches on Saturday and Sunday at times that coincide with the voting station hours, which is 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Persons who have already applied for IDs can collect them during this time and ID smart cards, or even collect their temporary identity certificates. The Electoral Commission has been on a drive to increase awareness of the registration weekend through an extensive communications campaign on television, radio, billboards, posters, and print adverts. These traditional platforms have been supplemented by an extensive campaign on mobile and digital platforms, including Mixit, SMS, Facebook, and Twitter. Communication targeted at the youth is having the desired effect. The number of people who like our IEC Facebook rocketed from about 1,000 to over 10,000 in the first 24 hours of intensifying our presence on social media. This has since climbed further to 27,500 in the last 3 days. We currently have over 15,000 followers on Twitter. The power of these social media channels is the ability to engage with the youth in a dynamic way. We are currently engaging with nearly 500 people a day on these channels around how to register, why to register, and where to register. In addition, our outreach teams have conducted over 1,000 community education sessions across the country. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Commission, I call upon especially young people to come and apply to register as voters. Young people make up the bulk of the South African population. Mid-year population estimates released by Stats South Africa in May 2013 show that 65.7% of the population is under 35 years and 73% under 40. However, our analysis of the voters' roll, which currently has over 23 million registered voters, shows that as at 31st October 2013, less than 50% of eligible voters under the age of 30 are currently registered. Just 8.7% of eligible voters aged 18 to 19 are registered, compared to average registration levels of 90% for older age groups. As at 31st October 2013, there were just over 23.1 million people registered to vote, representing 73.6% of the voting age population according to the latest census figures. Through our registration drive, we hope to increase registration to 80% of the voting age population, in line with previous levels in the previous elections. This means that we aim to add 2 million voters on the voters' roll from a combination of our continuous efforts and, of course, the general registration weekend. Currently, the Free State has the highest percentage of registered voters at 80.1% of those that are eligible to vote. The rest of the country looks as follows. Eastern Cape has 69.6%, Northern Cape 77.6%, Limpopo 77%, KwaZulu-Natal 75%, Northwest 73.5%. The provinces with the lowest voter registration numbers are Mpumalanga at 70.3%, Western Cape at 70.3%, and Gauteng at 69.2%. Ladies and gentlemen, I trust this gives you a broad sense of our state of readiness for Saturday and Sunday. As ready as we are under no illusion that this enormous task depends entirely on our competence. We thus entreat all South Africans to play their part in whatever big or small way that they can. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm now going to open the floor for questions. If you can please state your name as well as the media house you represent, and then we'll take questions from there. I've got people with roving mics that are going to assist us to mend the questions. I'm going to take 3 questions at a time, and then we'll see how we proceed with the line of questions. I saw a hand from the gentleman there. Do we have another second hand? I'm going to take 3 questions at a time. We've got our first question from that end. Is there any other question before I proceed? Kindly ask your question.
IEC to register people in Pakistan, because that area has been riddled by service delivery.
Can you repeat? We can't hear you.
Can I get a technician to assist us with the voice, with the sound level?
The state of readiness of the IEC to register people in Pakistan, which is the area that has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. It has been riddled by service delivery protests. Is the IEC ready for any eventuality in that area? Thank you.
Can I take the second question?
Over here, sorry. Okay, it's Eldrin Simpier from Power FM. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you, Aldrin. We can.
It's Eldrin Simpier from Power FM. You say that the number of registered people in Gauteng stands at around 69%, and considering that from the census that was issued, Gauteng has the highest number of, in terms of population that lives in Gauteng. Is there an understanding why the voter registration is so low?
Can I take the last question for this round?
My question is likely to be similar to the one on Pakistan, but nationally, have you identified some hotspots, and what are you doing to ensure that voter registration this coming weekend runs smoothly?
Okay. I'll request the panel to assist with questions.
I will answer generally, and I will request my colleagues to assist with responding to some of the questions. We are ready to conduct voter registration in all the 9 provinces. And we have made arrangements even in areas that you call hotspots for registration to continue, because we cannot have a situation in this country of no-go areas. Elections is a national project, and we are working with everybody who has the responsibility of securing elections, including security services, to ensure that registration proceeds well everywhere. be it Bekkersdal or the hotspots areas that you are talking about. We are aware, we are monitoring the situation throughout the country, and we are aware of very few areas, and there are few in the country where there are some problems. But we have put contingency plans in place, and I can assure you that we will be opening each and every voting station in the country. I will request my colleagues to respond to the Gauteng 69% registration.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether you can all hear me. In an attempt to deal with that question, I think it is clear also from the survey that, from the census, that there are quite a number of people who are flocking from rural areas into the city, in Johannesburg particularly. Now, these new settlements and people coming on a daily basis from rural areas to the urban areas may actually be a reason why we've got low registration in Gauteng. But we are hoping that with the process that we're going to be going through now, we will be able to capture as many people as possible, including those people who are coming to urban areas for better opportunities.
Can I please take the second round of questions?
There's a question there.
Thank you very much. Kulean Makubana from Business Day. I was just wondering if the IEC could shed light on drives by political parties to encourage registration, not necessarily in the constituency of origin for the voter, but in the place of the particular residence where they are at the time of voting. Is that something that the IEC is looking to encourage, especially in light of the fact that there's a low turnout in Gauteng, but there's urbanization that's increasing rapidly? Is that something that would be encouraged in any particular way?
Can you just repeat the first part of your question?
Can't hear.
There's been drives by political parties to encourage them to vote, not necessarily in, when we're speaking provincially, to get registered in the constituency where they have residence rather than where they come from originally. And I just wanted to find out if that if this is something that would be encouraged, especially given the low turnout in Gauteng, which is in juxtaposition to the rapid urbanization and people coming from outside Gauteng into the province.
It's Koli this side. Koli Mgambi from ENCA. Is there a plan to encourage young people to come out in their numbers to vote? We know that this election, I think, it's likely to be characterized by a lot of young people. Is there a plan in place that you have to encourage those young people then to come out in their numbers?
There's a question right there at the back.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can, Thabo.
My name is Thabo Shola Mashao, representing Swani TV. Excuse my ignorance on this question. Internationally, what takes place, taking into consideration the developments on also encouraging South Africans abroad to participate in the elections? As I said, excuse my ignorance, perhaps it's not relevant, but I was just wondering, as regards to registration, what does the IEC do? Thanks.
Right.
Okay, I will not respond to the question relating to young people because I'm not in that category. But Xoli, you are in our plans. So my colleagues will answer that question. The law provides that people should register where they live. So that is the message that we are giving to everybody. Register where you live. You would know that, of course, there are people like domestic workers that are in the urban areas. If on voting day, for instance, they will be working and they will be voting where they live, then they have to register there. So that's really what the law says. Register where you live. And it is up to you to tell us where you live. What is it that you regard as your home? Then you register there. Then regarding the question that Thabo asked, you would know that there is currently the Electoral Amendment Bill before Parliament. That bill has not yet been passed, but in its current form, it will allow South Africans who are abroad the opportunity to register. And they will register at our missions abroad. So we will be making arrangements for that, for South Africans who are out of the country, the opportunity to register. If, for instance, on voting day, and I'm talking about the bill as is currently before Parliament, I don't know if it will change or not. If it doesn't change, if you already registered in South Africa, but on voting day you will be abroad, you can vote abroad, provided, of course, you inform us of your intention to vote and where you will vote. There will be no need for you to register again. But those who will be registering for the first time overseas will be granted the opportunity to do so at our missions and embassies. And the proposal is that we will create what we will call an international segment of the voters' roll to capture the details of all those who will be registering for the first time. So that's the bill before Parliament. What happens internationally with other countries, different countries have different laws as far as this is concerned. Some countries don't allow voting overseas, others do. But in our country, we will be allowing South Africans who are abroad the opportunity to register and to vote.
In relation to the youth, I think the chairperson indicated earlier that the focus of our program is largely going to be on the youth. We are using various platforms. Firstly, we've got what we call the youth ambassadors. We are going to be using the youth ambassadors to try to encourage the youth to participate. We're also using various social media platforms. As we suggested earlier, we are on Facebook, we are on Mixit, we are on Twitter, and we are using those platforms to try to encourage as many of the youth to participate. But we are also in partnership with quite a number of universities, as well as student representative councils. We're working very closely with them, and you may also be aware that recently we had what we call School Democracy Week with the Department of Basic Education. Now, these are some of the strategies that we're using in order to try to encourage as many participants as possible from that category. But I think the last aspect that we are going to be using is media in general. We're using television, we're using radios, we're using newspapers, again, to try to target that. We indicated to you that this category of our people, the youth, is actually going to be at the center of our campaign this time around. And we're trying to do every little thing to capture as many people as possible to participate in these elections.
When I said Xoli is in our plans, I was talking about young people in the media. That as you spread the message, as you do your business in the media, you have to encourage young people to register. We expect you to be our ambassadors. We want you to spread the positive message for us. And you have the platforms, and please, we are making that special appeal to you.
Indeed, Chairperson. Let me take the last round of questions for this morning's session. I've got a question here, and then the lady at the back is the second, and there's a one next to the gentleman, the third. Let's start with you here. Let's start with the gentleman, and then the lady, and then the lady at the back. It's one, it's two, it's three.
Does the IEC have any message for political parties in terms of the behavioral patterns that they should exhibit on voting day? And also, I would like to know the amount of money that the IEC has spent or is going to spend on the elections, including the advertising campaigns? Thank you.
I'm Carla Fenter, I'm from The Citizen. I would just like to know, if the bill does get passed, do you believe you'll have enough time to implement all the necessary measures before the election next year abroad? I'm talking like abroad now.
I'm Sungani, student journalist from the University of Pretoria. Compulsory voting may seem far-fetched or even feel like, people are being bullied into voting. But we've seen in countries like Australia and Peru, it's very common practice. What's the IEC's take on compulsory voting?
Thank you.
Okay. Last question from my side, Chloe again from ENCA. Ahead of these elections, I would just like to know from the team that's sitting in front of us here that how's the relationship between all of you? Are you all happy? Is everything sound?
We are happy people, otherwise though. Yeah, we are all happy people. You can see us. We are a team. We're working well. We've been working very well over the months to prepare for these elections. And the information that we've just given you is an indication to you that we are ready for the coming registration and for the elections. So South Africans have to believe us to say, when we say to them, we are ready, and once again we'll make this country proud as we've done in the past. The money issue, I will leave that to the CEO. Regarding the bill, if it is passed, yes, we'll have enough time to prepare for elections, because as we are waiting for it to be passed, we are also making arrangements for the implementation of the law. So we can assure you that certainly we will be ready. Compulsory voting, as in Peru and Australia. We live in a constitutional democracy, and South Africans are very politically alert, and we are also quite a litigious nation. We like courts. And the Constitution grants everybody the right to vote or not to vote. The right to vote includes the right to register or not to register. So in a constitutional democracy such as ours, I am not sure that whether there is a space for compulsory registration or compulsory voting. I'm not sure if South Africans are ready for their name to be compulsorily put on some list without their consent. So I'm just saying that because we are a constitutional democracy, we respect everybody's right to vote or not to vote, to register or not to register. But having said that, South Africans have taken their civic responsibility very seriously. If you look at the number of people who are on the voters' roll and the voter turnout that we have had in the past in this country, it is evident from those figures that South Africans participate in their large numbers, even if we do not force them to participate, and we shouldn't force them to participate. That's my take on your question. Okay.
In relation to the question related to the role of the political parties and the contact of the political parties, we're working very, very closely with the political parties. You may be aware that we have established structures at national, provincial, as well as local level called party liaison committees. These structures are structures that we are using to interact with the political parties, and from time to time when we're having those meetings with the political parties, we emphasize the kind of the conduct and behavior that is required of all the political parties. But in addition to that, you may also be aware that we've got a code of conduct, and all the political parties are bound by the provisions within the code of conduct, which really guides them in terms of the way they're supposed to be behaving and conduct themselves when it comes to the elections.
You excuse
excuse me, you asked the question about budget. For this financial year, our budget is 1.5 billion rands for all registration that will be taking place and preparations for elections. Of course, the elections fall into the next financial period. In terms of the budget that we have set aside for our communication campaign, you're looking at about 230 million of that amount. It is important that we indicate that an election, preparing for an election does not take place in 1 year alone. It is spread over one year period. And our budget for the following year will be 1.6 billion.
Thank you, CEO. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I don't see any burning hands. So my assumption is that all the key questions have been covered. Allow me to bring this press briefing to a close. As I do that, let me confirm once more time that the IEC has always relied on the media partnership that we've always had in the past elections. And as we go towards 2014, I don't expect that to be different. Already from the past weeks since we launched the 2014 national and provincial elections campaign, the media has been very supportive of the process. As we go towards this weekend, we're left with a few hours to go to Saturday and Sunday. I'm appealing to the media in the House and also the media that is spending time online with the IEC to continue mobilizing South Africans as we go towards registration weekend. The chairperson, Advocate Pensi Klakula, has said that our target for these elections as we close the voters' roll is 2 million. Only me and you are getting to that 2 million. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, thank you very much for coming. Refreshments are served outside, but also the team from the IEC, if there are any specific interviews, will assist in coordinating that for you. On that note, let me thank the IEC chairperson, supported by the IEC leadership, on this particular press briefing, and have a fantastic week as we continue to mobilize South Africans for the voter registration weekend. 8 o'clock, we open our voting stations. 5 o'clock, we're closing. See you on Saturday. Bye-bye.
And Sunday.
Thank you, Chef.
Where does she want to do it?
No, thanks.
It went well. Yeah, it went well. So that's beautiful.